This is Death Metal Podcast. Basically, Death Metal Podcast dedicated towards all death metal. This is our November 15th, 2025 issue of this fanzine, magazine, YouTube, podcast, whatever you want to call it. We're live on YouTube, so we enjoy the fan participation in the chat. So thank you for tuning in. This is the diving into the first death metal bands from 1980 to 1990 retrospect. I promised I wasn't going to do any more of these type of things, but by popular demand, I am summoned to die to play these old episodes where we talk about old school stuff. And then, so tonight's episode, we're going to be going from 1980, where there really was no death metal, to 1990, where death metal was really starting to kind of get under everyone's skin. So this is Death Metal Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Roy Fox from Necroharmonic, and I'm going to do an episode dedicated towards just the old school shit. So this is going to be a retrospect of what I consider only. So this is objective to me. I did my homework. I've been listening to these bands anyway. There will be some death metal thrash crossovers because some bands were thrash, but at the same time, their thrash was so thrash, it was death metal at the time. So we're going to talk, at times we might chop the music off due to copyright regulations. I might only play a piece, a chop, a sound, one that you are memorably remembered. So up to this point, I really didn't want to play music anymore, just to be honest, but I think it encapsulates what we're doing here and, like some of our episodes. So, there will be music played, but I'm going to try to talk and chit-chatter about old school death metal from 1980 to 1990. So you think death metal 1980, like what exactly would death metal from 1980 be? So, I mean, in a weird way, like this would be 1980s death metal. Venom, the Venom Demon demo, 1980, recorded April in 1980 for £5. And then they didn't even have Kronos singing. It was Clive Jesus Christ Archer, and Kronos was on bass. So they had a different singer back then. This was released in 1980 apparently. Which, I mean, I never really seen this tape or any of this type of thing in tape trading circles. But I did. Obviously, they came out of the woodwork with some very cool sounds from this. So we're going to give a small listen to some of those. So if this was considered 1980 death metal, they were not singing yet with the growl, obviously. Yeah.
For the right connection, 'cause I need it.
All right, so obviously the vocals are not in a death metal way. You know what I mean? They're not the deep, but the guitar playing, the style of the music, the band name, the things that Venom were achieving. And we're going to talk more about Venom because they didn't just groundbreak in 1980. In a way, that demo wasn't even heard in 1980. It was heard in like 2016 or something, or 2010 maybe. Unless you were a diehard Venom head. What's up, Teddy Tommy? What's up to everybody that has joined Death Metal Podcasts on Saturday night? We haven't been around too much. I did take a break after the Steve-O Impetigo interview, and I was speaking with a friend, and I said, I'm not doing any more of this playing music or themed episodes or nothing. And he said that people want that. So I said, you know what? I think I could see myself doing more of those anyway. We are going to do interviews more again. And the Steve-O one was amazing. So you should definitely check it out. And we're live, 100% live death metal, trying to, you know what I mean? Like open people's eyes maybe towards a few things they never heard. And then, I'm not trying to be the authority on death metal, but at the same time, there's a lot of AI videos out there nowadays, isn't there? And they filled with misspoken band titles and histories of death metal that are not. They're just, they're obviously just clickbait with very good titles. So, but I want to come on here and set the record straight for death metal because I am a diehard fan in today's day and age. And then, in a way, even if you see the history of death metal, which you don't, you might see a video about death metal or black metal. You're probably not gonna get the fan perspective that you're gonna get here on Death Metal Podcast. So that's what I'm trying to say. Roy's a slam millie guy. You know what? I'm trying to, after this episode too, next episode will be all new shit because basically I don't want to just be the old school pony, one trick pony, The Steve-O podcast was great. Thank you, Teddy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So if you guys in the chat, as the years go on, if we're in a specific year, I don't mind you speaking, try to keep it within the era of the year. And what I'll do my best to keep it as close to chronologically safe as possible. So there we played Venom from 1980. I'm not sure when this album was released. I think pretty close, which was Welcome to Hell. So, you have Venom, Welcome to Hell. The thing I played was from the demos. And then, some of the songs from the demos. This was a better enactment from Chat GTP that you could actually read the titles. So it was Angel Dust, Raise the Dead, and Red Light Fever was the other song on there. They say there was the first three, I guess, songs. So I mean, who are the best? Who are the death metal bands, you know what I mean? Like, hold on a second, this fucking thing. Let me see here. There we go. Okay, so who are the death metal bands from 1980? There are none, right? There are none. Death metal evolved from metal to heavy metal to thrash. Actually, from rock to metal to heavier metal, thrash. And then thrash started to cross over into death metal. In my opinion. But there was early movers and shakers. And there were early bands doing a guitar style and a guitar sound that was death metal. But the vocals may or may not have been completely death metal. So if we put it on 1981 at this stage, there's only, there's a band that comes to mind to me. And the band is hold on a second, I'll pull the music up. The band is Sodom, basically. They were doing stuff that was more blasphemous. very death metal oriented. They had inverted crosses. They had a lot of elements of death metal that was more dark and more, satanic, let's call it. So this demo goes back to 81, 82, 83, you see as different sources. But Sodom witching metal demo. Will it play? I'm going to pull this into the machine here. Hold on a second. Just give me 1 second. Technical difficulties on Death Metal Podcast as usual. So how's everybody doing tonight? Everything chilling? It's raining here. There's a thunderstorm. So also, if I play anything too shady on here, this podcast and live stream on YouTube may not last. So this might be a one-time banger. But I figure this would be exciting for all of us to think about the old school death metal bands. So old Sodom witching metal would be the demo. I'm not sometimes the years are a little unclear on this one. So they say Sodom formed in 81, but the demo possibly 83. All right, so there you have Sodom, which the band is inverting the cross. They have pentagrams on their demo cover. They have a different type of death metal looking logo, they say, as someone in the chat said, the demo was from 92. So, I mean, amongst the guitar style, the vocals, that didn't even sound really thrash as thrashy as they got later. That sounded a little more black metal, right? A little more, mix between like death metal, black metal, and thrash, which you're going to find on the first, like from 1980 to 1985. No matter what, when we play this, you're going to find thrash elements. You're going to find black metal elements. They're in there, man. They're in there for, even the death metal bands. They're in there pretty much even to this day, in a way. So this is Death Metal Podcast. Our edition is death metal from 1980 to 1990. So it's only going to get stronger and stronger as time goes on, Thank you for everyone that tunes in. I appreciate the support for Death Metal Podcast. Everybody that how you doing? How you doing there, Antoinette? Pale Moonlight, Laura Squirrel, Nevermore, Jesus Drinks Jet Fuel. What up, dude? And then I saw Magicraft here. How's it going? How you doing, brother? Zachary, appreciate you. Brutal. New band. So tonight, this is we're back, Death Metal Podcast. I'm going to be back for good. So the next band I would like to drop on this episode, there's so many bands actually from 1982, 3, 4. Like a lot of bands like must have been influenced by something that brought them to. I'm assuming it had to be Venom, possibly, But there was other thrash bands that had, given the elements of their thrash into death metal. So obviously, there's also an obvious debate on who is the first death metal band. Let's be honest, like you've seen it out there many times. Is it Possessed or is it Death or Mantas? I mean, I guess it depends who recorded first, right? I mean, I don't know if either band has their recording info on their demo. So that's kind of hard to pin down. But they will both be part of this Death Metal Podcast because they are amongst the first death metal bands there are. If we jumped to past 1982, which is crazy to think, death metal in 1982. Like, okay, I don't, I mean, I was so young and there wasn't even thrash metal for a long time, I mean, not when I was young, but I'm just saying in general. And thrash was even a fleeting moment in time. But, there was bands like this could be amongst, the earliest. And again, might take things a little out of timing here. But the band was called Tormentor, and then they them and another German band both came out with releases. And the band Tormentor became Creator. This is Creator. All right, so that's a question. Does Tormentor come before Destruction and before or Era to Destruction or before Possessed or before Mantas or Death? It seems slightly, and considering their albums coming out, like with full better recordings at those times, like 84, 85, 86. Whereas, Death maybe by 85 you had a record, but Death had a lot of demos, and Mantas very early. So what's up, Jeff Chapman? So there we had Tormentor. So I don't know, it was hard to figure out, should Tormentor or be ahead of Possessed? Should Destruction be ahead of Tormentor? Should Destruction be after Tormentor? I felt that there was no date on the demo. There was a lot of satanic imagery. If you notice in their logo, 2 inverted crosses. There was 666s and pentagrams all over the place, and there was even one on the spine. So definitely rolling in the satanic zone earlier than most. Which, so the companion to, Creator would probably be Destruction in a way, I find. So that was that song was called Bone Breaker. It was the last song from that demo. So I'm going to move into this. This is the early 1984 Destruction stuff. All right, that song was called Total Disaster. So also Mad Butcher was on there, which didn't probably come out on record for till later. So I mean, the band could have been around since like 82, possibly Destruction and Tormentor. They have a song called Tormentor also. Both bands have it. Tormentor have a song called Tormentor, and Destruction have a song called Tormentor. Both bands from Germany. You know, it's debatable. The vocals, obviously not full death metal, but image-wise and playing-wise, a lot of death metal there. So, I mean, if you really look deep at the earliest, you know, Destruction times, I mean, you do get a lot of vibes of, you know, bestial invasion and hell, and there's a lot of inverted crosses. They're inverting their guitars. They were wearing inverted crosses. You know what I mean? They were definitely doing some satanic stuff, you know? And so were Sodom, too. I mean, if you look at these earlier imagery of Sodom, hold on a second. Grave Violator, huh? Where the fuck is the Sodom? This is the cover of the demo, and then where is the? I thought I had to put a photo of the band. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, so onto what maybe might be the roots of death metal. So now, you know, it's been debatable for a long time between Jeff Becerra and Cam Lee of who formed the first death metal band. I don't think either band put their dates of their recordings on their actual demo covers. You know what I mean? But there's one clue that I found here that I consider to be relevant to a lot of this, okay? On the Possessed demo, right? Here's the Possessed demo. They have a song called Death Metal, and even if you look at the back, it says the words Death Metal right on it. So it says death metal. I mean, they were definitely pushing death metal, you know, I guess before Mantas or Death. So I'm going to put them ahead of Mantas or Death. I think, you know, I consider Death and Mantas more of a death metal band, but you got to give it to Possessed at the time. I still consider them a thrash band, but I mean, they were touting death metal on the demo. So, I mean, but so we're gonna play some Possessed, which I can't see here until we think about the Possessed. Let's join one more Sodom demo song from, I believe, what would be their second demo, Poison Blood.
My God!
right, so who knows? 1981 to 1983 were very formative years. You had a lot of different things coming. You have the Possessed and 7 Churches, obviously, but the demo came before it, which we'll show a photo of. Which this was the demo cover. Again, the word death metal is on the demo cover, but their sound was thrash, definitely. There's obviously it's the debatable thing. Death metal, evil warriors, and burning in hell. But if you look at that little spine right there, man, that says death metal on it. I mean, where you have, Death and Mantas with their corpse grinding death metal, formerly Mantas, there was a lot going on there too. But you can't count out these other bands. I mean, Venom, obviously, or Hellhammer, which they say formed in 1981, but possibly was from the first demo was like 1983, So I don't think we need to play every song from fucking Possessed and Hellhammer and all this shit. But, like in a way, and you had this band too, Bathory, like they had come with an album before this with the goat on it and the yellow goat and all the fucking satanic imagery, a harsh guitar sound. The vocals weren't as deep. They were, considered thrash at their time of being, as were Destruction and Possessed and Creator. So I really don't think they ever called death thrash. But they have elements of thrash, and they were definitely influenced by thrash. And around the time that some of these releases came out, a spiral came through the, I'm sure Venom set it off. Somebody said Holy Moses in the chat. I don't really consider them a death metal band, but possibly they had death metal sound. So you had a spiral of bands between the Bathorys and the Hellhammer. I don't know how good Hellhammer stuff was spread in 1982, 3, 4. You had Celtic Frost, obviously, in 84, 85. There was a lot of influence of the Destructions and the Creators and the Bathorys and the Venoms that stuck onto what later became death metal bands, So if we really want to go and say who's the first death metal band, it might have to not be Possessed, and it might have to go to a different set of fellows, which would definitely be this band.
Yeah.
1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983. 1983.
All right, so there we have Mantas, who I think are, probably the closest to the first death metal band. I mean, I don't know what could be closer. The first Possess album sounds contemporary in a lot of ways, but has now put hyphens on it to separate the genres. Necrophagia is going to fit in here, trust it. As are some of the other bands mentioned, Massacre, etc., Master. These were all, I'm wondering where some of my files are. These were all early death metal bands, So, I mean, Mantas quickly shifted into. They say that this was recorded under the name Mantas, but then they had changed their name to Death. So this is Death. All right, so good question. Mantas demo came before Possessed death metal demo. it's questionable. You know, like I think some of these things didn't really have their dates on them, but it's possible. You know, it's possible. This isn't really about debating this. This is definitely just about going over the history of death metal, basically. You know, I don't know the dates. I wasn't there. I didn't live the shit. I just listened to the fucking music, basically. So that's the bottom line. But I'd like to see the chat blowing up about it. So thank you. I wanted to. This is the reason that I try to do episodes like this, so people can get into open debates about, you know, a good music style. You know what I mean? So there you had Death Live, which I saw, heard, and felt something on the early Death, as well as later death metal after Death, where the bands just didn't have to go the whole time, and they could play a little bit of a slower part. And as time went on, the slower part could get slower and slower and slower. You know, some of the earliest thrash bands didn't really have too many, like, you know, slow parts. You know, where this death song had slow and fast parts, which I consider almost more death metal-y riffs than to be, you know, all just fast picking and thrashy riffs. You know, so I mean, not that there isn't thrashy riffs in a lot of death metal songs, because 90% of them are built on fast songs. But so, you know, it's debatable who was the first death metal band. That's, you know, when you go from 1980 to 1984, you really have this really small space with a couple bands that all claim the throne. You know, you said, you know, it says, you know, Possessed, Death, Master, Slaughter in 1984, you know, to be, you know, formed in 1984. So, you know, I think some of these bands could have been around before, because I've seen pictures of Paul Speckman hanging out with Ozzy. So anyway, there are other bands that we are going to cover. And then, so we have our Death and Mantas. Obviously, these are amongst the earliest death metal bands there really is, you know, with the Mantas Death by Metal demo. You know, Massacre had spawned out of that. And then we had this early band who played a very heavy style and influenced a lot of death metal bands. This is Master. big respect to Master for being a 40-year in the game death metal band. I mean, even to this day, you could go to a Master show. You can't go to a death show. You can't go to a possess. Well, you can go to a possess show, but they took some time off. I don't think Master ever really took any time off, right? I mean, barely. Master, one of the earliest, heaviest. We're doing some revolutionary stuff at their time. Master and Death Strike, and then and then we have another band too, who came out at the same time or before. Who is, a Godfather death metal band, a Godfather horror band, even a band who came with themes of death and etc. Necrophagia. All right, yeah, you have one of the godfathers of death metal. Rest in peace, Killjoy. So, like I said, some of the thing be a little out of place, 84 demo, Possessed. 84 demo, Necrophagia, Death is Fun. Master, 85. But definitely, I'm trying to retrospect as much as I can. And I want to say what's up to the 50 or 60 friggin' people that are watching tonight's episode of Death Metal Podcast. I see a lot of very familiar faces, and some of which I got to hang out with at a festival. So I see it's like Magacraft and Rich Delgado, Chaos Goat. I saw, what's his face earlier here? The Uber fucking king. What's this? Yeah. I see a lot of faces that are normal Death Metal Podcast watchers too. Jeff Chapman, Aaron Fogg, Trotilium Zine, Bob Kelly, Stefan Goldberg, Venner, Grindneck. Thank you, Depeche Commode, all you guys. So I appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode, and let's keep going on with our musical fucking hijinks. This is these demos were raw and the vocals were different at the time. Like I'm sure they scared they scared people. And the sounds were, they're dark, like the demos that came out of these, from America, from Australia, or from Brazil, you know what I mean? Like as time went on, the bands got faster and faster, and Texas had a thing going on, and Florida had a thing going on, and like there was all these like little hubs of death metal. UK, Canada even had a thing. So it's kind of cool that death metal had spread that deep. So if we were going chronologically, we had Master. This band was from New Jersey, and I guess you could probably consider them death metal. Hatred. All right, that was Hatred. They're I had to put them on there for Jim Static's sake, but they were definitely doing some death metal shit in '85. So yeah, death metal podcast shirts. If you guys are interested, we got t-shirts for the podcast. You can check out necroharmonic.com or Necroharmonic Big Cartel and their shirts. So that was Hatred. There was old records, man, from '85, old Venom and shit. Warhead. This is hard. This is a hard as fuck record, man. Celtic Frost, right? Morbid Tales. Can't get hurt, man. These, I have to say, like, this, I don't know if this came out in '86. These were the records that got me into death metal, because even though it's speed metal hell, you had bands like Necrophagia on there, or those were the bands that I liked the best, the bands that sounded the most like death metal, not the thrash ones. Sometimes the thrash ones would kind of suck, but then there was good thrash ones too, like your Cryptic Slaughter or something, you know, or eventually Necrovore with Satan's Revenge. What's up, everybody? So what's up, Andres? Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you wearing your I'm dealing with squirrel issues right now, but I'm proudly wearing my DMP shirt. That's very very fucking cool, man. Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales. Okay, so up next, you know, again, you know, we're not going to cover every single fucking band, dude. I'm just going to, this is an overview of death metal from 1980 to 1990, where things got, you know, even heavier and the vocals way lower. So here is something that they say was an 85 Sarcofago demo from Brazil. Or if you notice Sarcofago, the guy got a spiked cod piece on there, you know? See him on the end? So Sarcofago definitely, you know, riding the black metal thing too, but, you know, have death metal feel to him. And, you know, between the spikes and the upside down crosses and a lot of spikes, you know, graveyards, you know, all the regular death stuff. Alongside Sarcofago, yes, there was another band who later changed their sound, but was one of the originators of, you know, amongst the early originators of death metal in '85, Sepultura. All right, so that was Sepultura. I would consider them, one of the earliest, 1980 to 1990 death metal bands. Definitely singing about antichrists and decked out in their crazy things. And if you see the photos of them back in the day, I mean, this was some next level, young metaler shit. You know what I mean? He's got his exciter patch there and his interesting cap. I mean, they look like little kids, right? They got spikes, but they're like 13 years old in 1982, So, I mean, you really have something dark going on here in this country as far as like the deep, how death black metal these guys are for their time and their country. Because, I mean, this is not, this and this are not very far off from each other. They're just like a year or two off, you know what I mean? And I mean, so, very interesting situation where you have, or you have bands like this, Holocausto, Campo Extermination, or, the Cogmello, if I'm saying it correctly, label with their Warfare Noise compilation with Chaco, and these were like black death metal bands at the time. I can't say the records were fully, available, but I mean, they were definitely early examples. So this demo in particular is not really talked about too much. There was an interview within the past year. It's a Texas band demo from 1985, Cyrenax, and they definitely probably put a step on Necrovore. Right. So that was Cyranex from Texas. So the demo was from 1985. Yeah, there was a lot of thrash feel there and a lot of heavy. There's kind of that undertone of like a black death metal master kind of feels underneath it, you know? I thought they deserved to be included here just because they're brutal. You know, and again, you had these early tapes, 1985, you know? Scream bloody gore. And, you know, massive amounts of Venom releases. They say some of the earliest Morbid Angel stuff was on this disc right here. The ones with Kenny Bamberger or something. So, I mean, you know, some Morbid Angel, obviously one of the earlier bands as well. And Celtic Frost, too, who we did not play here. You know, Hellhammer and Celtic Frost amongst the earliest death black metal bands there is. You know, according, you know, I mean, as far as, you know, 1985, you had a couple other, you know, kind of not so known bands that were playing something that was almost more brutal than death metal, but at the same time seemed like it was influenced by it, or maybe some grindcore kind of feel. Decapitation, Let the Killings Begin demo, 85. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. I mean, if that's death metal from 1985, I mean, that was as harsh as what later became Splatteria. I know that was an influence on them. So in 85, you know, things started to get a little more aggressive, a little faster, a little more brutal, especially with the vocal side of things. And then, you know, as time went on, the vocals kind of went from one format of screaming and thrash to a more death metal oriented version of it, you know? You know, like there was like kind of like an adjustment period between the bands. So actually we can't leave out this after Death and Mantas, you have this band, Massacre. right, so you would agree with the death metal analyst, Laura Squirrel, that this is the voice of death metal, Cam Lee. So there was a band I forgot too from 1985. They had, kind of a thrash sound and a death metal guitar sound and a death metal playing style. And Evil Chuck even joined the band. Water.
For the incinerator! Suits they were dressed with the blood in the breath. They fed upon semen, the government's a demon. They left us bleeding and sore in the hands of the incinerator. In the Bible we look while the city's all cooked. You can learn to more pain than they turn. The interest in tour with the wrath of the incinerator. Incinerator! Wood for a feast. Incinerator! What do you expect to leave? Incinerator! Didn't learn from the past. Incinerator! The devil always has. And now the mold cast from the stakes of the past. We're all melting in a hot cauldron of sin. Through this button door comes Incinerator! Incinerator! Wood for a feast! Incinerator! When you expect to leave! Incinerator! Didn't learn from the past! Incinerator! And that's the wall attack!
Right, since the maximum amount of people are watching, it says 73. Shout out to everyone that tunes into Death Metal fucking podcast. Ramiro Lopez, Eric Bloom, Death Row from Germany. Thank you, man. Chemic from, looks like Russia. Make way for the incinerator. DK, Christopher, Bob Kelly. We're not ending the show. I just want to say what's up. Crypticus. Ravenous Skirner out on his break from the warehouse. Stefan Goldberg, we said what's up. Fantastic. Action, explosive. Wilson Tam, thank you for everybody that comments. It's helpful, even people that are just lurking. Say what's up. So definitely the Incinerator, Slaughter from Canada. We're definitely rocking like a death metal charged, guitar sound. And then in 1986, there was other bands. There was another band from Chile who did this Rehearsal demo, Pentagram Chile. know, that's the fourth band I heard with the big outro. So that was like the fourth fucking band I heard with that shit. Shout out to all those bands, Creator, all that. So, you know, you had Celtic Frost, you can't forget, you know, Morbid Tales, or you had To Megatherion, early stuff. This was definitely, at the time, you know, you thought it was thrash, but it was really death black metal. Poison, West Germany, yeah, you can't underestimate them, and the Sons of Evil demo. Let's see what's in my photos too, if there's anything here that's relevant to those year time frames, you know. Like, I try to pull down some imagery that, and some, you know, stuff from my personal collection that just complemented this particular show. What I'm missing is, it was Parabellum from Brazil. So they were kind of like a Black Death band too. So they definitely need to be mentioned here. It was an early Black death metal band. They had written a backwards version of their fucking logo and shit. I mean, this was some next level occultism. So, 1986, 87, 88. These are very busy years. So I focused more on the early stuff, but, you know, as time went on, even in 1986, there were other demos coming out of like a place like Australia. So this is, you know, with the pentagram right there, you really feel a lot of the death metal vibes, you know? I mean, amazing feel. By the time they hit the 87 demo, and the 7-inch and everything, really amazing. But this was the band from 86 with the Taste of Blood demo from Australia. They're called Slaughterlord. All right, that was Slaughter Lord from Australia. Definitely, yeah, making Necrovore run for the money, right? Maybe they had some influences. I know Possessed definitely felt like they had an influence on Necrovore. I think Necrovore and bands like Pentagram, Necrovore, they had an influence that spanned across later bands that came in 87, 88, 89, where you had your Immolations and you had your Morbid Angels and you had stuff that, Morbid Angel pretty early too, but you felt a different kind of vibe after the Pentagram demo or after, maybe the Slaughter Lord or Necrovore demo or whatever, where they, kind of just started to vibe into it like I don't know, this really hypnotic Black Death riffing pattern. That's what's best I could call it, really. So up next, let's see where we could go with this. So that was Slaughter Lord from 85. I'm sorry, 86. So, as we move in, I think I moved past most of 1986 in my files here. There are definitely a few bands I left out. I mean, I'm not going to remember every single fucking band, nor am I going to play every single band. This is debatable to what, is death metal. I mean, I don't need to play every single fucking band, but, I would definitely say in the early times of something that was, past the death era of, and then moved into 1987. This is probably the most remarkable and long-standing death metal band that actually stayed death metal the entire time. The Autopsy. All right, the infernal gods of all, right? Autopsy. I mean, they definitely it felt like Scream Bloody Gore taken to like the next level, you know what I mean? At that time. I mean, Chris played on Scream Bloody Gore, so it pretty much seems that that would just be the thing, right? He could have went softer, but instead they went a lot fucking harder. And Death, I guess, went softer in a weird way. I didn't think Leprosy is very soft. But you know, as time went on, a little more technicality was added to the mix. But Autopsy with an amazing demo. I remember this record. This came out in '88, but contained a lot of 1987 demos on it, including the Necrophagia and Morbid Angel, etc. So it was Satan's Revenge 2. There was a Satan's Revenge 1 too. But this was actually a gateway thing for me because there was band addresses on the back, you know, between that, you know, here's out of order and released later, but Autopsy for first record. You don't see this as much with this cover, obviously, because it was a band cover or something, but the original Severed Survival, you know. But you know, I played the demo because I wanted to hear the demo. So up next in 1987, again, we're not doing anything chronological, but I'm keeping it pretty fucking close, dude, as close as can be. Let's flip back to a band that was probably formed before this. This demo is from 87 now. Again, Australian, you know, was definitely a death metal-ish band, you know, riding the black metal ways too. Sadistic Execution. Sadistic Execution from Australia. They were definitely amongst the early black death metal bands, you know? We put them definitely in the category from 80 to 90. Right in the center there, you know, like a good mix of screamy vocals, very distorted guitars, and just a psycho attitude in general, you know. So Sadistic Execution demo. Again, a lot of demos from 87. You know, like I want to sometimes hit some unobvious ones. We could play Necrophagia all night, but the thing is, like, I'd like to try to hit things that maybe might not be as obvious. Just maybe somebody listening for the first time heard something they never heard. Maybe something like this, Malfador. The man who uses two computers to do his show. So that was Malfador. Definitely a more obscure thing, you know. What's up, Kier Kettering? What's up, Mega Bones? Thank you for commenting too, John Joseph. Hopefully from the Chromags. So tonight, you know, our episode is dedicated towards old death metal demos, you know, like we're trying, not demos, you know, just death metal's origins from 80 to 1990 was the, you know, my theme. So up next, here's another, again, 1987, a busy fucking year, dude. This band had demos before this, but this the origin of this recording probably like 86, 87, and then a demo after it. It was Morbid Angel, the Abominations and Desolations.
He's
All right, that was Morbid Angels Abominations album. I think that was the raw or rawer mix. I don't know, because I've heard 5 mixes, and Earache one is the very cleanest one. But I have a mix recorded from a very reliable source that does not sound like that mix. That tells you something too. So that was definitely influential early black death metal. This is a death metal podcast. We're trying to retrospect any black death metal from 1980 to 1990. And we're hitting 86, 87 now in the bands that were from there. And this, amongst, in a weird way, I don't know, this guy was like the sound guy for them, or drove for them, or hung with them. And his riff patterns are definitely kind of asimilar to Trey's Necrophagia. That was Necrovore. So that demo in particular, the Necrovore demo, seems like it had a big impact on the black death metal scene, considering it was a fucking demo. As you know, I'm sure that Morbid Angel had a big impact too. Now, this has been debated by me, which I don't know the answer, and no one has ever answered this to me. But I'm going to play another demo right now, which obviously the Abominations demo was recorded earlier than this particular demo I'm about to play. But I think this Necrovore was recorded before this demo that I'm about to play also. So something tells me that I feel kind of like a weird Necrovore undervibe on this demo compared to the Mike Browning stuff and the Abominations and Morbid Angel. Because, I mean, I have to say, Morbid Angel probably the most, you know, I might be going out on a limb here, but, you know, probably one of the most important death metal bands there is, right? I mean, there's, you know, you can't really deny that too much. You could definitely say your Celtic Frosts and your earlier bands, but when it comes to death metal, either Death or Morbid Angel, probably the two biggest, or, you know, were known, or I guess Cannibal Corpse now, but, you know, Cannibal Corpse was later. It was 89, 90. So, you know, to me, and the style too was more dark, and they had a more black death sound than, say, a Cannibal Corpse, who have no black metal in them, you know. I don't think they do. But check out this demo. I mean, I don't know which one was recorded first, the Necrovore demo or Thy Kingdom Come. All right, so Necrovore definitely, was a powerhouse in a weird way, and it's you know what, the triangle connections of the occult are all over. Necrovore mixed with Morbid Angel in a weird way, which nobody talks about. You have Autopsy and Death, and members shared each other, and you know what I mean. So these are the root fucking bands. Even Slaughter mixed into there, with Chuck joining fucking Slaughter. So United States, I'm sure Europe has some similar stories. But if you look at the occult fucking version of this, Death and fucking, Autopsy, Morbid Angel, Necrovore, you know what I mean? These things are all fucking connected, man. These are a connected occult activity, man. Slaughter, you know what I mean? So trust me on that one. I mean, that's what's kind of cool about death metal. It has that occult activity, but it's not black metal. Black metal really wasn't called a thing. Like, they treated Bathory as a thrash metal band, and same with Celtic Frost, until many years later when black metal was a little bigger. I wanted to, occasionally I'm going to play some doubles here because the demo was just so extraordinary and it was so death metal. I don't want our show to go for 10,000 years. It's still in 1987, but I have to play this.
The
right, that was Pentagram from Chile. And since you mentioned tape trading too, and what's up, Jason? I love your comics, brother. I always appreciated when you sent me your comics. Fucking, what's up, Jason? Thank you for tuning in as a lurker. I like that you admit it in there in the chat. So anyone else that wants to say what's up, say what's up. Melanie, you watching? Yeah, I saw there was beef online. I was not really feeling that. So what do you call it? Goat Metal Show. Fuck yeah, dude. What's up? And also shout out to Joker, brother. That was cool hangs. Everybody that I hung with. Evan Williams, man. Fucking sick maniacs. You know? We're ripping it up at fucking Denny's, you know? Or some weird spots next to our spots. So yeah, thank you. I'm trying to encapsulate what I listen to mixed with the history of fucking real death metal. There's a storm outside, so everything is real here, you know. So up next, you know, we're diving deep into this 1987 because there's just so many fucking releases that are 87. I noticed I was on the front end of 87, but you had this too. Someone mentioned it. Obituary.
And the brown fucking duster.
All right, I think the song was changing right there. They were going into another song, I believe. So that was Xecutioner, and it said from '87. So Obituary, Obituary seemed like they put the pathway to the more brutal death metal, right? Where you had the occultic, fucking Morbid Angel, and you had Autopsy with the total gore, and then you kind of had Obituary kind of covered what might later become like your suffocations and your cannibal corpses and stuff. You know what I mean? This is just my opinion, death metal podcast opinion. And us doing an episode on this, I just realized like I don't have an episode on this, and that's the main reason that I did it. I wanted to try to get back in the swing of things. There was a lot of weird politics shit in the fucking death metal scene the last like 6 weeks. So I just stepped back from it and just looked at it like a bystander. I didn't want to get involved because I don't give a fuck. I care about this show and the fans that watch it and the music that I listen to on the headphones, YouTube, Spotify, etc. Read fanzines, write mail, send people fucking packages, make shit. That's what I care about. I don't care about other people's fucking racial politics and shit. Fuck that shit. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck, man? Like I'm here for the music, not for the fucking drama. A lot of people that talk about that shit online are a bunch of fucking women, basically. I mean, I guess. If they're men, they need to check themselves a little bit. So Obituary with the Xecutioner, from '87. It said in the summer of '87 in Florida. That must have been quite nice. Here's a band too that I think fits the grindcore category as well as the death metal one, because they were definitely an early death metal band in a way. And then it's funny because this trifecta circle of the Pentagram fucking trading goes towards this guitar player, Jesse Pintado, and Terrorizer. Because he was influenced, him and Mitch Harris also were influenced and tape trading with the guy from fucking Pentagram from Chile. So, I mean, it's weird how these little occult fucking circles form. But here you have it, Terrorizer. All right, sorry, I dropped my buzzsaw on the fucking computer screen. That was Terrorizer, an unforgettable band, especially when they had hit the world downfall and the Fear of Napalm beat, and the Pete Sandoval, was definitely a fucking character of real fucking blasts. Terrorizer, definitely, ace fucking death metal band, man. There's no like disputing it. Along with Obituary, along with Morbid Angel, along with Slaughter, along with Master, You know, they're influenced by Master from what the interviews said back in the day. You know. So up next, we're gonna stick with 1987 or 88. Try to move it along, move it along a little bit, right? You know, we made it pretty far, right, from 1980 till now, and I mean, I'm trying to keep it on point with, you know, what chronologically kind of the death metal, you know, sound, and it gets heavier and heavier as it goes. You know, I do see something missing, which I'll talk about, was Rigor Mortis New York demo, which was definitely a pre-Immolation thing. So that was definitely like a early death metal piece also. They put it out on 7-inch on Seraphic Decay Records. So up next though, you got to move the bar a little further, Roy. Let me see here. So, you know, we'll hop into past 1987 into 1988 now. And also Michael or Toscan from Italy. You are hitting a lot of fucking notes, bro. Azagoth from the UK, you had mentioned, who are ace fucking old school original death metal band. Thanatos, I saw you mentioned. I remember the Thanatos live tape when I was younger. They said Celtic Compost on there. They said fuck Celtic Frost in like 87, which is fucking crazy, you know? So that's kind of crazy shit. Which was at the time, you know, when we heard these things. I didn't hear it in 87, but when I heard it, I was like, holy fuck. This is a band from France, Mutilated. All right, so don't forget afterwards too, or hit the like button, leave comments. You know what? If more people left comments, there's 75 heads in here, but if more people left comments, there might be quadruple the amount of fucking people watching this show. Just keep that in mind, because there's never any comments on any of our videos, and we did 190 of them. Maybe like about 30 of them have been banned. But I also wanted to throw this in because I guess this is considered a death metal record, right? Morbid December Moon. I happen to have the rare fucking paper copy version of it, which is even rarer than the original fucking December Moon. So I got this directly from Midian Productions, was it? Wimbias or Reaper Records or whatever the fuck it was. So this was definitely a, you know, sick fucking death metal record too. Shout out to fucking Dead. You know, like, I mean, also say that Mutilated was from France, like someone had said. They're this fucking amazing demo band. Yeah, I'm a very demo centric on this too, obviously, because I can play more demos on here than I can commercial Morbid Angel songs. You know, and maybe somebody hears something like the Malfader or Sadistic Execution for the first time, or Pentagram Chile. Like, that's really probably the purpose of, you know, you guys know that tune in all the time, but if anyone's a new tuner, you know, I want to try to open up people's mind towards death metal they never fucking heard, basically. So from 88, that was the Psycho Death Lunatics, Mutilated from France. You know, as 88 rolled in too, you had the Immolation demo come out. So I didn't put that in the mix, but you had the first Immolation demo. There was a litany of demos in 88. Nihilist, which I had actually one of those demos right here. Where the fuck was it? Sorry, I took a shot when Pentagram played. So yeah, I mean, you had like the Nihilist fucking demos and stuff. Only Shreds Remained, and the Premature Autopsy one. So, you know, there was so many different, you know, there's so many different bands from 80 to 90. But by the time like 87, this shit just escalates, and it's just, there's so many death metal bands, it's unfucking believable. And I try to play what on here, whether it be the roots. I'm going to play what I think it was the root of this entire show too. And a lot of you guys are going to like it. I think it's out of order with time barrier, but in 1987 and 1988, there was a band that played, and their vocals were so fucking heavy, dude. Like way heavier than normal. And it wasn't Napalm Death. It was a death metal band. Man, like the next couple of years after this had live show, I mean, the vocals on this band were so brutal, dude. I think they had changed the vocal landscape of Europe and USA in a weird way. And if they didn't, they deserve to. And if they, I'm sure they at least change it for you. All right, so that was the basis of the show originally, because I realized I was like, man, I never made a full-on show that's death metal only. You know, like, I mean, although there is some Black Death mixed in here, I wanted the show to be more death metal. But you know what? That style of vocal didn't really appear. I mean, even though it appealed on a Massacre and Death and some bands that sang deeper, that was like kind of where it went the fucking deepest, right? Like when it started to be like, you know, a disharmonic orchestra or Pungent Stench or, you know, the Napalm Death stuff. But I didn't want to include Napalm Death on the show just because they're just just they considered themselves grindcore, not death metal, in the 1987 through 90 period. Maybe by 90 they had considered themselves death metal. I'm not sure, but yeah. Do you think that's where Autopsy got their idea from Severed Survival? I think it was the other way around, probably. You know, if you listen to Autopsy through Norwegian black death metal, you'll hear a lot of Dark Throne and all that stuff. You're more a death metal head. I get it, brother. So, I mean, I am too in a weird way, because here we are. Here we are, you know, like I've tried to come here and play a bunch of disastrous shit to make people's fucking ears bleed, you know? Like, I mean, this is pretty attuned to what I would listen maybe on the regular too, but you know, I move into these death metal podcast episodes with a purpose, you know, and I try to just focus on laser sharp on like what the realities are of what, you know, what we should talk about, maybe mixing in occasional Malfadors or whatever, dude, you know. And there's a hard line to drive there with black metal and death metal, you know, because like they are fucking intertwined like this, you know. And so is grindcore too, so it's like it's difficult to figure out, because I mean, I easily could say something like this had fucking vocals on it too that were very Pungent Stench like the first Agathocles, second Agathocles demo, 88, same year, everything, you know, almost the same time period. But this is not death metal, right? I mean, it's for a death metal fan, I would say, because I'm a fan of this, you know, or Phlegm or something, you know, Phlegm demos, Phlegm, you know, like they, you know, the vocals on the Phlegm stuff was kind of Pungent Stenchy, you know, and Vader demos were amazing too. They were some good black death metal. Autopsy first. Never was a fan of the ND. All right, so up next, more Vital Remains definitely could fit into this 88 through 90 zone. Their demos were very cool. So up next, I'm going to play something. This is a band that had a different vocal style, more attuned to like a Necrophagia. They had a multiple demos. They had a full-length demo called Wedding the Grotesque. And this is them live, though, Dr. Shrinker.
What'd you do to him?
He ran into my elbow. They want to check the sound.
All right, the pit was moving, man. It didn't know when to move because it didn't know the songs, but it was definitely sick. There was definitely some action going on there, and some action going on in your house. Headbanging, fuck yes, dude. Hell's fucking dude. Like Dr. Shrinker stuff is all heavy head fucking bobbing shit. Like that drummer, god damn. You could see like kind of the singer and the band members looking at the drummer because like, you know, he's kind of leading the fucking charge there, man. Especially for the mosh. Yeah, definitely cool guys. Shout out to Rich Noonan and Matt Grassberger and Chad and also the other Matt or Chad. Those were cool dudes as fuck, man. We put out a release with them, so I love the demos. It's like some of my favorite stuff. So early Dr. Shrinker. So we're moving down the line. We're getting closer to 1990 as it goes, right? So a couple more, and then I'm out of here. Death Metal Podcast. I can only do this for so long. This would be very hard stuff too, next to the Pungent Stench and other death metal at the time. right, death metal podcast. So I would have put Mortuary Drape, but I consider them a black death metal band. There was a lot of good CDs coming out, probably in 89, 90 too, like Terrorizer, Deicide. The Impetigo demos were a little earlier than that, but there's a CD version of it. There was this stuff too. I mean, you know, you had your Godflesh, you know, which was different, industrial death metal, early earache tape, Pain Eater demo, early demo promo, two-songer. It was just a bass and drum machine with a brutal vocals. And the guys from Pain Eater were original showgoers of Massacre, Morbid Angel, Obituary. First showgoers, first shows. You know, Hideous Mangulus. Shout out to Sam Biles. He was definitely early on the death metal front. You know, second Immolation demo. Mortician, 89 Rehearsal and 90 demo. You know, Suffocation. You know, so this is where, like, this is all at the point where death metal kind of started to really fucking grow. So, like, after these bands and these demos and releases, you know, I showed some obscure ones, but I showed some bigger names now. At the time, you know, they weren't known. They were newer bands, but you could tell that these are fucking the shit, you know? Like, especially that Terrorizer one, you know? So, yeah, love the Drape. Fuck, you came in late, just rewatch the rewatch, and then leave comments, please, everybody. If the more comments that are hit on this videos, the more people will get to see them. So also in 89, along with that Dr. Shrinker replay, some of their demos were earlier than that. There was this all-female death metal band, Derketa, the Rehearsal demo. All right, so a couple more songs and we're out of here. I just want to send my shout outs to everybody that watches the show. Laura Squirrel, Zachary AK47. Is that representing the weed? Also Evan Williams on the weed. And then Kyle P, Nevermore. I'm assuming that's Nevermore Rules, Matt. Chaos Goat, Aaron Fogg, Ever to Stefan Goldberg, Chemistry, Rotten Punks, Grind Tech, Lord, Rich Delgado, Goat Metal Show, Joker, all you guys, Teddy Tommy, Jason from Fuckator fucking Comics, Antoinette from Guatemala, Peru, or Mr. Metalhead, New York Warrior, Christopher, Digestor, Head Split Records, Jesus Drinks Jet Fuel. Appreciate everyone that tunes in. Brutal X, Bob Kelly, Wilson Tam, Jeff Chapman. There's a lot of people that tune into Death Metal Podcast, so I appreciate you all. Vacuous Depths. Shout out to Mike Abominator, holding my seat warm. Eddie, I look forward to the December 6th show on Old School Death Metal with Mike Abominator and Alston from Vacuous Depths. Corey Raposo, Crazy White Boy, Maggot Craft, Keterin, Chaos Goat, I think I said, Into the Storm of Steel, Frank Angel Vengeance, Century Dahath, coming from we have Facebook Live, so if you ever wanted to use that, let me see here. Just After Hours, that's Cam, I believe. Let me see here. Wilson Tar, Dr. Darkmore. Thank you for everyone that tuned in, man. A lot of heads popped up for this. One Red Cloud. The Kemek from he said he's from Cali, not Russia. Appreciate everybody that tunes in on the regular. Chris Crepozzi, Nate. Thank you, Repo Man. All right, that's all I could say, basically. Thank you, man. Death Row, thank you. I appreciate you guys, man. You guys exploding action, and yeah. I appreciate you guys because you guys help make the show too. Because you talk about Loud Blast demos, Michele, Toscan, everybody that's in there talking about the bands and Catman, Synthetic Life. So the people I get to meet in real life are the fucking coolest. I go to shows now and people are like, "Are you that guy from YouTube?" Which is, a little awkward for me, but it's all good, I mean, again, somebody's got to be out there taking one for the fucking team, right? Let it be me, because I have a big mouth and I can do the 3.5 hour fucking podcast about death metal. I mean, I don't want it to be me, but I figure why not, But, tonight's episode, we sat and listened to Venom and, showed the transformation between Venom and fucking Morbid Angel and Autopsy, and that's about the best I could do, I don't know. So I hope that everybody likes the yeah, it's not a death metal celebrity, but it's definitely something that people talk to me about. So that's cool though. I mean, if you are a weird death metal fan, so am I, come up and shoot your fucking to talk, So we'll play a couple more. I wanted to play the early Mortician. That's a young Roy Fox standing there with the Carcass shirt watching them. If you see next to when Ross sings, there's a Carcass kid. All right, rest in peace to Lisa Marie Thompson, too, who I saw at the end of that video. She had passed away probably within that year, too. So rest in peace to Lisa Marie Thompson. Yeah, fucking old Immolation. So I just wanted to say shout out to Metal Mom, too, for throwing the first Michigan Death Fest. I was going to throw that picture of her on here. Shout out to Immolation for getting me into fucking death metal. Shout out to Gorephobia. Shout out to Incantation. Shout out to John McEntee for fucking driving my ass everywhere, showing me the first Mortician and Incantation shit. And also, rest in peace, Ronnie Dio. Shout out to Jim Rowe. Shout out to Craig Pillard and all my other peoples. Venner, everything, man. New Jersey shit. G. Willikers, it was. So that was our spot. So I'm out of here though. Death Metal Podcast. Appreciate you tuning in. The episode's going too long, so I gotta bounce. So thank you for tuning in. Fucking hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be back next week with a new show. Take it sleazy.